Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, in our last episode, uh, I started speaking about the politics and my history with voting. And I'm encouraging all you young folks to get out and vote. Please register for the upcoming election. This is one of the most important elections that has come up in quite some time. And presidential elections are where more important ballot measures come up. Also, we have senators, congressmen, and assembly people up for election, along with local judges. So these are all very important um, measures and elections in the upcoming election in November 5th. And what I want to do, because a lot of you have been asking, well, how do you decide? And you new voters, how do you decide on the measures? And the thing that I want to encourage you most, don't listen to the commercials on TV because a lot of them are very, very deceptive. And that's very common because uh, nobody wants to lose. And especially those that are backing some of the proposals, the propositions, the bonds, and it's up to you, us, the voting bloc, to say yes or no on the passage of these different bonds, measures, and propositions. And how do you go through and decide everything? Well, in the coming weeks here, right after November 7th, you should be receiving the information pamphlet. No matter what state you're in, there's an information pamphlet about all the propositions, bonds, measures, uh, people running for elected office. Yes, it's a tremendous amount of reading, but that's part of the information that you need to gather for yourself to see what measures, what people, and everything in the election. Who do you support? What do you support? Because these are all very important. Measures dealing with taxes and uh, uh, applying new taxes usually go through a two-thirds vote selection because property owners are electing to tax themselves. One county that did that way back in the 30s, it was the Golden Gate Bridge. People in Marin County actually um, signed a proposition that put their homes and properties as liens for the county so that they could come up. If the Golden Gate Bridge had failed, all of these property owners in Marin County would have lost their homes and properties. They put their homes and properties up as collateral for loans and monies that helped build that Golden Gate Bridge. Never before in American history had that happened. And this is the only time that that has happened, where the entire voting bloc of a county approved a measure and a bond measure and put their homes and properties up uh, as collateral for those bonds and loans to build that bridge. But they benefit the most. They benefit the most because rather than having a 2 hour trip to go around the bay or having to use a ferry boat like in at the time, you don't have to do that, and so you can simply drive across. But anyway, getting back to how I decide on measures and everything. Number one, get that information pamphlet, start reading uh, the measures that are most important to you. Let me tell you about one measure here in California that we've been fighting for a number of years. This was implemented back in 1995. It's called Costa Hawkins uh, regulations. It is a law here in California, and it is a law that we need to have repealed, and that's what Prop 33 is all about. Prop 33 is about repealing Costa Hawkins uh, regulations. And what Costa Hawkins did, it removed the ability for cities and counties to put in place rental protections. And that has hurt the Bay Area. And then also, one of the most important things that I do, I look at who are the top funders, who is funding uh, that the support for or against whatever the measure, bond, or proposition is. Look at who that is. And in Prop 33 on the TV commercials, you're looking at an organization called Apartment Association. Apartment owner associations. Well, what that is, that's your corporate owners. All the big five corporate um, apartment and condos owners who own these buildings, and REITs, REIT, real estate investment trusts, also are a part of these. And the problem that we have is that we cannot put in place rent control measures to stop these greedy landlords from constantly hiking and using software to create the market conditions that are in place. And so right now, California is working on banning, several cities have already banned real estate software, which projects pricing. And so that's something that needs to be removed before anything can really happen. And we've been fighting this for a number of years. And the reason why I point this out is because on Prop 33, it is very, very deceptive. And you have to look at what is going on. Because what in the TV commercials, they tell you that there are a lot of rental protections that are going to be removed. And the rental rules that they're referring to is Costa Hawkins. And that's the one that prevents cities and counties from putting in place rent controls. Because in 1995, when that was approved by the voters, it was how should I say it? It wasn't on the up and up, and it actually lied to the voters. And that was one of the measures that actually created a mandate in the voting election, where yes means yes and no means no. Whereas when Costa Hawkins was approved, yes meant no and no meant yes. And so it was very confusing, but yet it got approved. And then we've been trying to repeal that since, and it's failed twice because of the deceptive manner that they talk about Prop 33, and then it also goes into Prop 34, where there's also saying yes to approve, and for those that are for controlling these out of control corporate greedy landlords, this puts in place rental protections that help you and I from these greedy bastards that are raising rents constantly and at and above market rates. And I have a lot of experience. I've worked with one of the biggest corporate rental management companies called Equity Residential. At the time when I worked for them, they were the number 3 largest rental agency in the United States with over 5,000 units. And those were their prime units, and then they had other units, and so this particular Equity Residential has hundreds of thousands of rental units across the United States in all the big cities, and you may even be in one of those. And if you're not in one of those, you may be in one of the other unregulated Costa Brava protected properties. Because if you came in and you're in an apartment newer than 1996, you're in a Costa Hawkins apartment, and so you are not protected in any way. Your landlord can raise the rents annually to whatever he wants or whatever they want to, and it's really unfair. So the information pamphlet starts arriving in homes October 7th, and so you need to read the materials and look at who is supporting, who is funding these different um, measures, propositions, and electorates. And so when when we receive that, look at everything very closely. Read it, and read especially Prop 33, and you'll start seeing the deceptive nature that Prop 33 is written as, and those that are supporting it uh, don't use that they're a large corporate entities that control all of the 90% of the rentals here in America, in all of our large cities, because they have these buildings. They continue to put up buildings. Here in Oakland, those same people say that it costs $600,000 to create a single apartment or condo of only 600 square feet. Yeah, that seems kind of out of line, but that's what we're looking at. And then also, the along with your information pamphlets, you will be also receiving here in California your mail-in voting ballot, and you can fill it out as soon as you like and mail it in, or um, you can wait till voting day, November 5th, and turn it in manually like I did in the previous election. Uh, and then there's also the immediate uh, voting. And so if you are not currently registered to vote, please register to vote before October 5th. And that way it ensures that you will receive your information pamphlet and your voting by mail ballot, and it will come to you in time. But if you don't receive it for whatever reason, because we know that Bay Area mail is being stolen by thieves all over, if you don't receive your mail-in ballot, you can still go to your voting center, which is usually a public library, a public school, a senior center. There's a lot of different types of voting places on November 5th, but be sure to get to one. Bring an ID if so that you can verify who you are. Here in California, you do need to have an ID to vote, and so be sure to bring that with you. Don't forget it. But go to your your polling place on November 5th, and let's see. You'll be given a provisional voting ballot if you are an unregistered voter. Or you may be a voter who may be questionable as to whether you actually can vote or not. That's the purpose of the provisional voting ballot. And that's why you need to have an ID so that you can get one of those provisional ballots. What they do once everything else is counted and tallied, then they go back to the stack of provisionals. And that's why the process takes so long, because there's so many different mail-ins. You have to wait up to 1 week uh, for all of the mail-ins to arrive. So there's a 1 week delay there, along with your provisionals, which come in after all the votes the regular votes are tallied. So read your pamphlets and decide for yourself. There's a lot of information there. Who are you supportive of? Are you supportive of, in this case, the landlords? I'm not, as they've ruined Oakland and California by constantly raising the rents to an unaffordable level. So I've been voting to repeal Costa Hawkins in the last two, or actually last three times that it came up for vote. And unfortunately, because the way that it's written and the way that the TV commercials are placed, and they talk about how you are going to lose apartments and be unable to rent anything. You can't build anything. They talk about increased red tape for building new buildings, which is a bunch of bullshit. And Costa Hawkins has nothing to do with that. This is only about repealing Costa Hawkins, and that's it. That's the bottom line. Nothing else. It's not going to affect the permitting process like they're trying to scare you. It's not going to decrease housing like they're trying to scare you. And they do a lot to make you vote, to deceive you, purposely deceive you. And that's what that is. And then, like I said, research who is backing, funding the proposition, bond, or measure. Also, look at who's supporting candidates and what they have to say in their statements. For those of you that don't know my voting stance, I am American independent voter. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. When I first started out in the voting era back in 1978, I registered as a Democrat because my dad was a Democrat. My grandfather, turns out, was a Republican, and Republicans were very strong here in Oakland. Oakland was also a slightly better city with less corruption, but still had a lot of corruption going on. But I'm an independent voter. I am not uh, a progressive. I will look at things along the progressive party line, the Democrats, but I also want to see a funding package for anything that they propose, because that's the problem with Democrats, is that they spend and they tax. Rather than coming up with a balanced plan with funding behind it, they just don't do it. And then the Republicans, what can I say? I was a Republican because of my work, because that's where I got work. And the only thing I can purposely and 100% say with confidence, it is one of the most racist groups that I have ever encountered. Even here in Oakland, being part of the Republican Party, I was despised by people in my party. And the people in my party, the Republican Party at the time here in Oakland, were all white. And then when I left the Republican Party and became an independent, all of those people who were supposedly friends and acquaintances no longer knew me. Literally, they didn't want to know me. So that's why I say The Oakland Republican Party is a party of races. I couldn't hardly speak at any of the functions that they held. Nobody really wanted to hear what I was saying in that group. So that's why I left. I was frustrated with them. The only reason why I stayed a Republican for as long as I did, the moment I retired, I changed my Republican to American Independent because of the bullshit from the Republican Party, and then the Republicans that I knew, a lot of them were racist right to my face, and so that's why I anything Republican right now I'm not for, but I will look at it because it's fair, and I have to be open minded about what goes on in our politics here. Uh, so align your support with the proper backers, whether it's yes or no. That's up to you, and not for me to decide, but that's for you. And like I said, that's one of the ways that I use, one of my filters, how I decide on different things. But let's see what else I have here. Uh, and, here in Oakland and Alameda County, we have a very interesting situation. First, we have two recalls going. One for our district attorney, Pamela Price. She is up for a recall. And then also Oakland Mayor Shane Tao is up for recall. And if the recalls are successful, Oakland's going to be thrown into some real turmoil, because Shane Tao, if she is recalled, she will immediately lose her seat after the certification. So that means at the top of the year, she's going to be unemployed. And that's the way it should be. She shouldn't have been in there to begin with, because she was the least experienced of all the candidates, and also the dumbest. She made a lot of mistakes while she was a city council member, yet Oakland, you voted the dumbest of the dumb in. So what can I say? Let's see, anything else that I may be missing? That's why I have notes. I'm getting kind of old. I forget things, and so I write down a lot of notes. But anyway, in closing, all new approved taxes exponentially harm low income and middle income households. And the greedy only want the rich. They don't want the middle class. They definitely don't want the low income folks. And so vote smart. We need to have better representatives representing us, especially here in the city of Oakland. We have the possibility of removing 4 of the 7 city council members. And as you know, I've been endorsing recalling all of the Oakland city council members, because none of them are worth a crap. They talk a lot, but they do nothing. And then they vie to come in and become the Oakland mayor. And the problem with that is that they didn't create any solutions. They created more problems as city council members. Than you, the Oakland voters, voted these stupid, retarded people into office to create more harm, create more corruption, and more instability. Thanks for joining me today. Vote smart, folks.